Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. This is why EIDL funding ran out and what you can do about it if you still need funding for your business. It's been about 1 year since the EIDL program began winding down, and to say it was a popular program is an understatement. Nearly $400 billion was approved for 4 million businesses across the US. It was one of the best funding programs the government has ever created coming out of the pandemic, saving millions of businesses and putting them in a position of strength. And while we were able to help tens of thousands of business owners collectively get billions of dollars in EIDL funding, thousands more were left without the funding they needed. And early last year, the program started winding down, and in May, it came to a close, leaving many people wondering what happened. Was there more money? And if not, what they can do. So in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly why EIDL funding ran out, what happened with the program, and most importantly, what you can do today to get the funding you need for your business. This is especially important now, so be sure to watch until the end, and most importantly, thanks for subscribing if you're new, hitting the like button. If everyone hits the like button today, we can get this video seen by tens of thousands of folks right on YouTube. This is incredibly important information because average business interest rates have gone up, and millions of people in the US are looking for both answers and, more importantly, new options, more funding options that can help you and your business. Before I get into why the EIDL program ended and why it ran out of money, I want to take a step back to spring 2020 when the CARES Act approved COVID EIDL funding. We've been covering this program since day one. You can see the dozens of posts and videos we've done on this topic religiously for almost 3 years, including mapping trends of approvals. Here was the latest data report from last spring, right when the program ended and ran out of money, showing that nearly 4 million EIDL loans were approved for almost $400 billion. As many of you know, when the program started in spring 2020, there was a limit of $150,000 loans. These were 30-year loans with 3.75% interest rates for for-profit companies and 2.75% for nonprofits. Approvals were quick because, and this is a big part of the criticism and policy changes that ultimately affected many folks, there was no tax return verification in these initial approvals. You'd put down your gross revenue and basically you'd be approved for a certain amount, again, up to $150,000. The goal was to deploy capital quickly. And in fact, in those first several weeks, the vast majority of all EIDL loans were approved, over 3 million in those first couple months. Fast forward about 1 year when the new presidential administration came in and a new SBA administrator took over. They took a look back and saw massive amounts of fraud in the EIDL program. And this is when things started to change, and what ultimately has made lots of people frustrated with the process. First, loan limits were raised to $500,000, then subsequently $2 million. However, to get those increases, it took a bit of work, and rightly so. Remember, there was rampant fraud early on in the program. The SBA said, sure, we can provide more working capital. We're going to change the calculation to 24 months of working capital. Oh, and by the way, you can defer payments for up to 24 months, which they extended to 30 months. These were all big decisions affecting millions of folks. And frankly, I think these were the right decisions. However, the SBA put in more steps that you had to comply with to get those increases. This include verifying your tax returns, the 4506T. Many folks struggled with this because their tax returns weren't filed or they had mistakes on their tax returns. And this is ultimately what led tens of thousands of folks to get lost in the system, in some cases in no man's land. And you had to know what to do to get looked at again to get that increase. At the same time, the SBA put up a lot of FAQs and resources, things that we communicated here on this channel. Plus, many folks were denied early on for these increases, and they had to go back, write a reconsideration letter to the SBA to get approved for that higher loan amount. And hundreds of thousands of businesses were successful at getting these increases. We know that because we helped many of you. But then this happened. We got wind from the SBA directly that the funds allocated to this program were running out, mainly because of the increased requests and how quickly people were getting larger EIDL loan amounts. So we put up this countdown timer about 1 year ago where we were counting down how much money was left in the EIDL pot. Here you can see what's left is 37 billion and counting. This is from March of 2022. And frankly, this created a bit of a panic because a lot of you realized that if you didn't act quickly for reconsiderations for larger loan amounts, you may potentially miss out on these frankly incredible low interest loans. Now, there were a lot of warnings that the SBA put out prior to the program ending, prior to the SBA portal closing down. We gave a lot of warnings there. Be sure to apply, be sure to download your documents before the portal goes away. And since then, by the way, the SBA has done a number of things to help with repayments. So link to one of those videos above. If you need to lower your EIDL payments, watch that video above. And while we did see some lingering approvals get approved going into last summer and fall periodically, bottom line, the COVID EIDL program has switched gears. They ran out of money and now they are into the servicing phase, helping those 4 million borrowers pay back loans over the next 30 years until 2050 and beyond. And now many of you are facing a problem. Problem is you're losing customers. We're in a recession. Whether you're selling to businesses or consumers, chances are you're still struggling somewhat or you're not growing as quickly as you'd like. But there are 4 good options that you can still take advantage of if you want good financing for your business. I'll start with the big one, which is other SBA loans. There are still SBA 7A loans. They're approving hundreds of millions of dollars of loans every single day. The average SBA 7A loan size is above $500,000. We are helping thousands of businesses compile and apply successfully for SBA 7A loans. If you want help, go to helloskip.com/join. Consider a membership or book a time to talk with us. We'd love to help you get 7A funding. It's funding up to $5 million if you need it with competitive rates. Yes, they're higher than the COVID EIDL program, but they're still good options. The second best thing you can do, depending on your situation, is look at lines of credit. These are from private firms, private fintech companies that will approve you for a certain amount, and you only pay interest on it when you use the funding. It's a great rainy day fund, especially if you want more peace of mind, knowing that you have access to capital if and when you need it. It's a huge boost for a lot of businesses. In fact, we have a couple partners, Bluevine and Fundbox. I'll leave the links you can use to get priority access in the description. The third thing you can do, and it's one of the most under the radar programs to date, is apply for SSBCI funding. This program is $10 billion being distributed to states across the U.S. that in turn they'll give out for low interest loans, collateral, venture capital funding, specifically geared towards helping underrepresented or underfunded small businesses and entrepreneurs. It's fairly complex and fragmented right now, but we have a team dedicated to helping people with SSBCI funding, gathering documents, knowing when options in your state become available. And if you want to stay in the know, go to helloskip.com/SSBCI. And finally, in the free money camp, one of the last remaining great free money options of pandemic funding is the employee retention credit. I think around 30% of you watching have already taken advantage of the ERC program. So if you had employees, any employees in 2020 or 2021, and you had business disruptions because of the pandemic, I encourage you to check to see if you're eligible. Go to skiperc.com to check eligibility. You can get up to $26,000 per employee. Honestly, this program is probably one of the most buzzy things people are talking about now. A lot of companies competing for your attention to make sure that you get this employee retention credit if you are eligible. So there's no risk to check to see if you're eligible, especially if you haven't gotten this money yet. So there you have it, the EIDL story, why it ran out of money, some of the things you may not have known about before, and more importantly, what are good options that you can look at now if you still need funding for yourself or your business at a competitive rate. And lastly today, a bonus option, because this has been incredibly popular since we announced this. Grants. We cover grants every single week. These are smaller amounts of money, but they're still meaningful, especially if you win. There's the Barclays Small Business Grant Program that's now live. 60 grants up to $60,000. Track it on Skip. We'll make sure you get in your application to throw your hat in the ring. And as always, we've got more grants coming out later this week. If you ever want to see the latest funding opportunities, go download the free Skip app on Google Play or the App Store. Just search Hello Skip, download it. You'll always see the latest funding opportunities stories, blog posts, and some exclusive videos right on the app. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.